Today's Productivity Commission interim report, is not just 116 pages of dry facts and figures. It is an attack on every hard-working Western Australian. It is an attack on the deal which has been endorsed by Western Australians at every election this decade. It's a sign that these East Coast clowns simply do not understand Western Australia. They have no Western Australian representative and no idea. The changes they have proposed will rip up to $6 billion out of the Western Australian economy. That's the funding we use to pay our teachers, our police officers, our nurses, and deliver a record hospital build and improve our schools. The changes would punish Western Australia for its success, simply to prop up other lazy states. This morning I spoke with the Prime Minister. He gets WA. He understands our role as the economic powerhouse of the nation. The Prime Minister told me the arrangements in place for Western Australia will remain.
I assure Western Australians of this. You will get your fair share because your work and what you contribute to the national economy really counts.
It's unfair. It's made Australia unfairer, and it's made Western Australia richer, unfair.
Every state and every territory, with the exception of Western Australia, wants change.
The Productivity Commission's report repudiates most of the spurious arguments that Western Australia has been putting for years in support of its claim for more GST than they need in order to be able to provide Western Australians with the same standard of services as people in the eastern states, whilst levying on them a similar burden of taxation, and they've been caught out.
New South Wales needs a better and fairer share of the GST. As it stands today, we get 83 cents in the dollar.
Underpinning the distribution of federal government grants to states and territories since the Grants Commission was founded in 1933, ironically in the aftermath of the Wexit referendum of that year, when Western Australians voted 2-1 to secede from the Commonwealth, only to be reminded by the UK Parliament that had the final say in those days that the words at the beginning of our Constitution about one indissoluble Commonwealth meant what they said. Western Australia was, in Western Australian terms, a lazy or mendicant state for 70 years, because for 70 years they got a bigger share of whatever grants were going around from the federal government to the states than they would have got on an equal per capita basis.
In the early 2000s, when they were, to paraphrase Paul Keating, kissed on the nether regions by a Chinese rainbow and started to become richer than the rest of Australia by a bigger margin than any other state had ever been.
And so quite properly, using the same logic that had worked for the previous 7 years, Western Australia's share of GST revenue began to decline. They were in effect able to use raw political power arising from the fact that between 2016 and 2025 they held the balance of power in Parliament to force the two major political parties to put their narrow partisan interest in retaining or regaining House of Reps seats from WA ahead of the national interest in ensuring that Australians, no matter which state they live in, have access to similar standards of education, healthcare, policing, environmental protection and the like, whilst paying similar burdens of state taxes and charges. If the federal government were, as the Productivity Commission recommends, to stop sending $6 billion a year to the richest state in the country so that they can run surpluses while everyone else is running deficits, Western Australia would still be able to cope, given that it's raking in almost $10 billion a year in mineral royalty revenues, which it pretends the rest of the country should ignore.
This corruption of the GST distribution system is somehow essential to ensure Australia's overall national prosperity doesn't bear comparison with the facts.